Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. How did you guys like week 3? Holy crap, everything happened. Dolphins put up a historical 70-point game. Bills threw a knockout punch at the Commanders. That one wasn't even close. Jags fall to the Texans when some people predicted that they were going to win the AFC this year. Lots of upsets, lots of fun narratives to talk about. However, you got to start with the biggest upset of the week easily, and that was the Cardinals over the Cowboys. The Cowboys, who were pretty much unanimously number one in NFL.com power rankings, ESPN power rankings, all of the experts said through 2 weeks, Dallas has looked the best. And it's hard to argue with that. Their defense looked picture perfect, although they did play against two very subpar teams. They still looked great. They took care of business, and looks like their offense was good enough and their defense was great enough that they were going to be real contenders in the NFC. However, I think the Cardinals exposed the Cowboys in a way. Not in that the Cowboys aren't NFC contenders anymore or the Cardinals gave the way to constantly beat the Cowboys, but I think they did give a blueprint. The Cowboys need to win by taking a big lead early so they can have a balanced offense and their defense can be aggressive. Their defense is built on aggressiveness. Big blitzes, Parsons coming off the edge, and their secondary jumping everything. They don't let any quick stuff happen. Stuff to the flats, quick stuff to the inside, they're always going to jump it. So what did the Cardinals do? They came out and used that aggressiveness against the Cowboys. RPOs were king in this game because it threw the Cowboys completely off. Dobbs is just athletic enough that he can get to that edge around the defensive end and pick up 5 yards consistently. And what that did was the Cowboys couldn't be as aggressive in the box on Arizona's run game because they had to look out if Dobbs was going to pull the ball out and go for a run himself. And Dobbs, to his credit, made just enough throws up the sideline and a couple of good deep shots that they couldn't stack up the box. So the RPO stuff was going to work very well because they could only have 7 men down there. So what that did was open up the run game completely. And the Cardinals ran all over the Cowboys. Connor had a great game. Rondale Moore, a wide receiver, broke out for a 40-yard plus run for a touchdown. Dobbs rushed for 50-plus yards. Everyone ate against this Cowboys defense because they took advantage of their aggressiveness. They were patient. They took what the defense gave them. And the Cowboys are very, very bad when coming from behind. They have a good offense. They don't have a great offense. Every single place on their offense actually is good, not great. Their quarterback, he's good. He's not great. Their wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb is a good wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 1. He's not a great. Michael Gallup is a good wide receiver 3, not a great one. Brandon Cooks is a good wide receiver 2, not a great one. Their offensive line, it's good. It's not great. Pollard, their number 1 running back, he's good. He's not great. What makes this team great is their defense. And when their aggressiveness is used against them, like the Cardinals did, it's hard for Dallas to win games because their offense is nowhere near spectacular enough to just go put up 35-40, even against this Cardinals defense, which I don't think is very good. No one thinks is very good, to be totally honest with you. And I know Dak threw that pick in the end zone that ended the game, but the Cardinals were winning that game anyways. It was over at that point. They were already up by 2 scores, and they had ran the ball so well, they were going to run that clock out. I have an interesting stat about the Cowboys and their way of winning. So the Cowboys are 31-2 since Dak started when they run the ball more than they pass. So what does that tell you? It tells you that when the Cowboys have a balanced offense, when the defense is kept on their heels by the running game, and they're playing with a lead where they can run the ball consistently, they are dang near unbeatable. because their defense can go hyper aggressive because the other team has to pass. Parsons gets his matchups, and Dan Quinn can blitz, and jumping everything is going to work. However, when they're coming from behind and they have to sag off a little bit, defend the run, they don't play the same. And Dak doesn't play the same without that running game going consistently. Dak is a game manager. That's always what he's been. His best year ever was his rookie season, where Zeke was the best running back in the world. He had the best offensive line in the world, and Dez Bryant was still a very good number one receiver. Him and CeeDee Lamb actually right now are pretty similar. But the Cardinals, they did everything they wanted to do. They used the Cowboys' aggressiveness against them, attacking their run game instead of using RPOs to distract them, and played really solid defense. Their pass rush got there, which I was shocked about. I guess the Cowboys' O-line isn't as good as I thought it was. But yeah, the Cardinals exposed the Cowboys in a way. They showed the blueprint on how to beat them. Every team can't do this. I was shocked the Cardinals could do it. Huge shout out to Jonathan Gannon, their head coach, who had easily one of the worst preseason speeches I've ever seen in my life with that whole, did you drive here today? Did you have that dog in you thing? Oh my gosh, that was cringy, but good for him. He motivated his team that was 0-2 to have some pride, fight hard against this juggernaut Cowboys team, and they came out and did exactly what they wanted to do. So props to them. The way to beat the Cowboys is get a lead early, run the ball, and make Dak beat you, because he's not going to do it most of the time. So the other game of the week in terms of storylines and just pure entertainment is involved a team that's usually in the most entertaining game of the week, and that's the Chargers. This show is going to slowly but surely become a Justin Herbert defense show, as in terms of me defending him, because I still see people on Twitter and media people saying, why doesn't he win more? Why is his record below 500 for his career? So I'm just going to give you some facts real quick. So Justin Herbert so far this season through 3 games has thrown for 930 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 113 passer rating. He hasn't thrown an interception. The Chargers had no run game the entire day. He was their passing game and their running game. The amount of times he had to, people don't understand. From sideline to sideline out wide is 42.5 yards. So when you're picking it up and you throw it all the way to the outside, you're throwing it about 25 yards instantly. You got to get the ball, throw it like that. He made that throw 10 plus times yesterday and made it look like a layup every single time. He had 5 more throws that just straight up made my jaw drop. That I think there are 3 people in the world who could make a throw like that. Mahomes, Allen, and him. Up the sideline to Allen between 2 defenders where he just dropped it in the bucket. That sidearm to Parham where he just put it around the linebacker right in his face. That touchdown to Parham where he threw it perfectly on the inside shoulder where only Parham could catch it. Great hands by Parham on that play, by the way. Holy crap, that had some velocity. And how about 3rd and 17? Rolling the wrong way, throws it over the middle to a stagnant Keenan Allen, not moving. Do you realize how much velocity needs to be on that ball for it to get there? A lot. And to put it between 2 defenders, oh my goodness gracious me. Guys, I promise there are not many people who can make that throw in the NFL. He's one of them. He's so special. But unfortunately, the 2 most important components to a football team in 2023 are the quarterback and the head coach. And the head coach is completely over his head. Listen, if there was a time for a coach to be fired after a win, I think it would have been yesterday. Herbert threw for another 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Chargers were so lucky to win this game. There's so many dumb defensive penalties. How many times was it 3rd and 10 plus, and the Chargers would get a holding call or a DPI or just a dumb personal foul that would just completely bail the Vikings out? And that is defensive discipline, which I want to reiterate again. Staley's calling card is defense. He got the Chargers job because he led the Rams to a number 1 defense as the defensive coordinator. Defense. And the Chargers defense is their Achilles heel. Not their defensive talent, mind you, their defensive discipline, which is exactly what he's supposed to be coaching. What does he do well? Is he a great motivator? No. I see him at the podium. I mean, he's fine, I guess, but he's not exactly making me run through a wall for him. Is he great defensive schematically? No. Seems like they're always in the wrong coverage. They have pretty much the same secondary from last year to this year. And they still look out of sync and out of place on every big third down. I can't believe my eyes when I'm watching this Chargers defense. It's not a lack of talent. Listen, he's going to get killed for the 4th and 1. That go for it call on his own 20. Me personally, I'm not going to kill him for it because I know that if they get that 4th and 1 and run out the clock, the narrative is completely different. He's a hero. Chargers win 1-2. Great call by Staley. I put that play on Kellen Moore. You don't give it up the middle to your second string running back who hadn't gotten anything going all day on 4th and 1. You put it in Herbert's hands. I don't care how you do it, but give Herbert a chance to get that 4th and 1. He didn't. Chargers didn't get it, whatever. But Staley, man, until this guy is fired and is replaced by Kellen Moore or Jim Harbaugh, or I know a Lincoln Riley doesn't want to coach in the NFL, but someone like that, a Sean Payton, if this Broncos thing doesn't work out, the Chargers ceiling is a single playoff win because he is just not the guy who can take you to a Super Bowl. He's a guy who loses you games, and you can't have a head coach who loses you games in the NFL. The margins are too thin. It's so lame too because they have such a talent at quarterback and such a great offensive coordinator, and the pieces work. They're going to get Eckler back next week. I know Williams is out, but that kid Josh Palmer can play. Gerald Everett is a good tight end. But they just can't get the defense right. Their discipline is so bad, and that's what Staley was supposed to turn around, and he hasn't done it. If a coach were to be fired for a win, it would be this one. And until they finally just pull the trigger and fire him and get someone in who can change the culture, I think their ceiling is a playoff win. And I don't even think they're going to get to that. They still have a losing record through 3 weeks, even though Herbert's playing like a top 5 quarterback. Those two things should not correlate, but they do. Also, side note, I said coming into this season that I had the Vikings coming 3rd in the division because they were 11-0 in 1-score games last year, and I didn't think they're going to be able to replicate that. Well, they're 0-3 in 1-score games now this year. Who would have seen that coming? Moving on to the Monday Nighters. Eagles, Bucks, Rams, Bengals, but I'm going to focus on Eagles, Bucks because this is the biggest game of Baker Mayfield's career so far, in my opinion. Prime time against a legitimate NFC contender. He's been playing really well so far. Really well. Bucks are 2-0. They haven't had a turnover yet. And now they're going against Philly, who I think can get got in their passing secondary. The last few times they've played good quarterbacks, they have gotten torched. Can Baker do that? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. But I will tell you, if he does, I think he's going to have a job in this league for a lot longer than if he doesn't. Primetime games are different. Everybody knows that. They have so much more attention. All the focus is on you. If he goes out and balls, even if they lose, I think he's going to have a job in this NFL for a lot longer than if he doesn't. Because the plan for the Bucks coming into the season, everyone thought was we're going to have Baker for this year. We're probably going to have a weak record, and we're going to take a quarterback next draft in one of the most stacked QB classes we've seen in years. If Baker wins this game or plays well or whatever, they go to 3-0. Is he the long-term quarterback in Tampa? Would they re-sign him? Maybe, depending on how the rest of the season goes. But a lot of eyes are on Baker tonight. And if he plays well, that's going to bode very well for him, even if the Bucks don't re-sign him in free agency next year. Hoping for the best for him, but I think the Eagles win and cover. And to finish it off, I want to talk about Lions Falcons for a second here. Mainly because I want to praise Brian Branch, who had an unbelievable game. Run stopper as a corner, pass breakups. He was everywhere on the field yesterday. He looks like he's going to be a stud. Sam Laporta played really, really well for the Lions. We've found another steal in the draft. Brad Holmes. Oh my goodness, this guy can draft players. Goff had a average game at best. He had one horrendous ball over the middle to St. Brown, which would have been a 20-yard completion. Instead, he sailed it for an interception. But he made up for it. Had a really good drive to put us up by 2 scores, and that kind of wrapped up the game. I thought he played composed even when his protection wasn't the best. And yeah, Lions moved to 2-1, and I'm super excited about that. Neither team could run the ball at all, and that did scare me. But Montgomery should be coming back next week. Lions should be looking even better, and I cannot wait for Jameson Williams to come back from his suspension because this offense is going to look even more dynamic, and I'm excited for that. Thank you so much for listening. As always, please let me know what game made your jaw drop. Did Miami putting up 70 make your jaw drop? Did Buffalo just eradicating the Commanders? Was that a big game for you? Let me know your thoughts about week 3. As always, the Spit Show comes out every other day. Thank you all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.